Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Sip and Smoke podcast with myself and Billy. How you doing, Billy?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great on this fine summer's day on a Thursday morning.
Yep.
It's a wonderful day. Before we get into the podcast, I want to give a shout out to one of our subscribers. Shout out to High Rollers Cigar Club for supporting the podcast and leaving a nice comment. If you guys want to get a shout out, please leave a comment below on this episode, and we'll give you a shout out in the next episode. Perfect. So, we've got a very special guest today, haven't
We
we?
have. I feel very honored to have this guest
Mhm.
with us as well. So, did
Of
you
course.
want to introduce?
Of course. So we have the founder of C.Gars Ltd, Mitchell Orchant. Mitchell, thank you so much for joining us today. Absolute pleasure to have you with us. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me, boys. I'm not sure I really know what or understand what a podcast actually is, so I guess I'll learn as I go along.
Yeah, we'll do our best to take the lead, and then it'll flow perfectly, I'm sure.
Of course. Mitchell, what are you smoking today?
Cigar 6, my
Oh,
breakfast
wonderful.
smoke today.
Okay, wonderful. How many smokes do you reckon you'll have today then?
Pretty standard day, 4 cigars,
Hmm.
maybe
Pretty
Standard,
standard.
yeah.
five. It's
Maybe
a
five.
nice sunny day, so yeah,
Exactly. You
could
got to
go up to
enjoy the
five.
heat. But it's a lovely breakfast smoke that you've got.
Mm.
I mean, what have you got?
So I've got the Oliva Aliados. This is a Honduran Pure. This is a Robusto coming in at 5 inches long with a 50 ring gauge and sort of a medium strength. Nice morning smoke, I think. But yeah, what about yourself?
So I have the CAO Pilon Robustos. It comes in at 5 by 52. It has an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper and a Nicaraguan binder and filler. I mean, I've not actually had one of these before, so I'm quite looking forward to see
Mm.
what experience I get
I've
from
heard
it.
good things about them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. There's quite a good backstory behind the name as well. If I remember correctly, it's a word that comes from the 19th century that is basically a fermentation process that they use, and
Mhm.
it's basically a stack or a small stack in a specific configuration that basically allows for the sweetness and the bitterness of the wrapper to die down a little bit. You get none of the ammonia, so it should lead to a good, nice experience, good flavor, less
Nice.
bitterness. So yeah, see how it
Cool.
takes
That's
us.
a
Yeah, sounds
strong
good.
cigar to start the day with, my friend.
Yeah,
Wow.
I was thinking about that. I didn't think it through highly, I don't think, but we should be all right, I hope.
I think you've got a good nicotine tolerance, so haven't you? So
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be tested this time. I mean, I've only been up a few hours and a small breakfast, should I say? So
yeah,
hopefully it doesn't take my head
I'm
off a
sure it'll be
little
all right.
bit, but should be fine.
I like CAO. I remember the original brand that was owned by the Osgener family many years ago before Davidoff bought it. A very, very nice family, and they made some very interesting cigars and some phenomenal presentations. I think they were
Mm,
quite groundbreaking in their day. I'm trying to think how many years ago it was, but I'm guessing it's probably going back around 20 years now.
yeah.
It's before your time with the company in the cigar business, but if you look up some of those old designs of the original CEO brand, you'll fall
Mhm.
over at them. They were absolutely groundbreaking. Very cool brand and very nice family.
Yeah.
Mm.
I was gonna say, I mean, the band on this one's quite minimalistic, but we said before, I kind of like that minimalistic look. I think it kind of makes it look very professional and real slick kind of thing. So it's a
Hmm.
it's a cool band.
It certainly is, yeah.
But what are we pairing with today? I mean, it's early, so
It is early, but we have the beautiful Macallan A Night on Earth.
mhm,
This is quite a sweet whiskey to start
yep,
the day with. It's
Highland
a
strong.
Highland,
Mhm.
and
40%, so it's
yeah,
not too strong.
I don't think we've had this before, have we?
No,
So
no, but I'm really looking forward to it. I
mhm,
mean, it looks phenomenal.
let's give it a little.
The bottle work and everything is really cool.
Never
So
mind all
cool.
that. I'm very impressed with you boys drinking and smoking at 10 in the morning. Absolutely promotion for both of you. I'm not joining you in the whiskey, I'm afraid. I'm just having a bit of a light drink this
I
morning
don't
because I
blame you.
don't drink in the mornings. In fact, I don't drink a lot anymore um, at all. I don't
Mm,
drink any more, and I don't drink any less actually. But I don't drink in the mornings. So, but I did tell you the story before when we used to have our marketing meetings many years
mhm,
ago in our London office. We'd start them off around 10 in the morning with a fair amount of alcohol to get the creative juices flowing.
mhm.
By about 1 o'clock, we were pretty smashed, but we came out with some amazing marketing plans.
I feel like I want to be a part of them marketing meetings. Sounds a bit,
We've got
sounds like
one.
a lot of
We've
fun.
got one today.
Yeah, maybe we'll take the Macallan into there and we'll get them all
Maybe,
on there. But
maybe so. So, Mitchell, you've got a pretty extensive history in the cigar industry, and I feel like people get to know you on the cigar level, but people don't get to know you as a person. So, we kind of want to ask you more about your upbringing, like growing up.
Take it back to
So,
the roots.
exactly, yeah. So, growing up, where did you grow up, and who were you around, and what sort of inspirations did you have?
Lots of questions there. I grew up in northwest London, um, and just a very regular sort of middle class upbringing, if you like. However, I was surrounded by cigar smokers. Grandfathers were cigar smokers. Father was and is a cigar smoker. So, if you like, I had a very early influence of cigar smoking all around me. So I had no chance of not having my first cigar, really and truly. Um, what was the other question? Inspiration?
Yes. So, who were your inspirations as you were growing up?
My father's my greatest inspiration from being a very um, young teenager, I suppose, and even younger. I worked with my father in business, um, in all different departments in his hotel business in London, um, literally from being a kitchen porter at the age of about, I don't know, 12, I suppose, to cleaning bathrooms and toilets and hotel bedrooms, and graduating to doing reception work in the hotels and working the bar, and you know, doing every weekend, well, Sundays working, school holidays, evenings. I always worked with my father, and my father's a very hard worker, a very clever man, but a very hard worker. So he was and is and continues to be my greatest inspiration. Um, a man who is a very deep thinker about business and life generally, and has taught me many philosophies of life, how to appreciate the value of time, how to punctuate time with a good cigar, how to choose the right company to enjoy that good cigar with. I like to have, I've always liked to have a drink, a smoke, a conversation with him. There is no greater inspiration that I could ever have in this life than my father. Um, I find him absolutely incredibly intelligent and, as I say, inspirational from a child through to almost my 60th birthday. My best friend, my mentor, just an all round great guy.
I think that's wonderful. It's nice that
Mm.
you had that inspiration and that it was your father as well.
I was going to say, having a role model that kind of close to home,
Yeah,
it's like everyone's wish, right? I mean, if you've got someone that you can watch all day, every day, and follow exactly how they're doing it, I mean, it's pretty much destined for greatness from there on, right?
exactly. And I think the work ethic was kind of drilled into you from a young age,
Mm.
which also says a lot about you as a person and kind of just shows for itself why you've built this incredible company. And it's just incredible to see and amazing to hear.
Mm.
But I wonder actually if it's a little bit genetic as well. I've been thinking about this recently, because you see, I've come from quite a line of business people in
Hmm.
my family on both sides. My grandfather was a very successful businessman in the printing industry. My That's on my mother's side. My grandfather on my father's side was very successful in the property business. He'd originally been a baker. My great grandfather was a very successful baker in the East End of London and the West End of London. My great uncles on my father's side were titans in business. They had a public company. They were toy manufacturers, and they owned what was the Costco of their day in Manchester, called Orbro. It was very similar to the Costco of today. So I've really been surrounded by generations
Mm.
of very, very successful businessmen. And I've actually found them all very inspiring in some ways. So obviously, some of them were a very different generation to me, and I didn't know them very well at all, unfortunately, other than the research I've done about them and the conversations I've had with family members. But I just wonder if there's actually something genetic in being an entrepreneur or even being successful in business.
Mm.
I do think so. I think it's definitely something to do with the mindset, isn't it?
100%. I was also going to say with that early exposure throughout your entire life, having that I say that groundwork and that foundation of what you've got to do to get to the top is already kind of there and has been achieved by past family members or anything like that. It gives you that foundation, right? So there's just a natural progression to be as successful as as you are.
Well, maybe it gives you a little edge. I don't know, because
Mhm,
sometimes it's easy to get to the top, but you can easily fall off the top and go right
100%.
back down to the bottom again.
Hmm.
Because I don't know if you guys know, but my previous business, where I met Laura, of course, was the petrol service station and convenience store business, and we built up a very substantial chain of retail forecourts and phenomenal convenience stores, which is really
Hmm.
where I learned all about retailing. But in 1997, we had a reversal of fortunes, got caught up in a price war, and the entire business went bust. And I went bankrupt in 1997. I had a 3-year bankruptcy. So, there's no prerequisite for success. Hard work isn't a prerequisite. You need a luck element and an acumen
100%.
element. There's all different elements. It's a bit of a cake that you bake, and all different portions of it. All different ingredients have to come together to make it into a nice cake. So it's a climb to the top, but it's a very fast fall back to the bottom.
100%. Would you say that kind of major kind of setback, how did you overcome that and kind of think, okay, well, we'll try this then and we'll take this to the top? How did that kind of happen?
That's a very good question. There's no short answer, but
Hmm.
you know, I never had any doubt that I would make it back. I was always a very hard worker and quite a deep thinker about business, and there had to be a way. I had a good survival instinct, and it was all really sliding doors, of course, because the petroleum business was a very, very difficult business,
Hmm.
to put it mildly. The cigar business is also difficult, but there's different difficulties between
Yeah.
the different challenges between the two businesses, the two industries. But there are sliding doors, and one of them was the fact that Laura, who started Cigars with me, was my original typist and PA in my petroleum business. So she is, of course, pivotal to the success of Cigars,
Hmm.
and I wouldn't have met her if I wouldn't have gone through the journey in the retail petrol business. So I think every cloud's got a silver lining kind of thing. Um, and how did I come through it? Well, I had the support of some fabulous friends and family. So
Hmm.
I was really never in any doubt that I'd make a comeback. I'm not sure I ever dreamed back in 1997, when we sort of restarted in the cigar business, that we would build a business this size and scale.
Hmm.
I think that's probably beyond my wildest dreams. And the fact that a few years ago we merged with my friends Frederick and Dominique in Belgium and the Casa del Tobacco in Belgium to form this really rather enormous entity called
Hmm.
Dominique London, which is our parent company, just goes beyond my wildest dreams of what we could have achieved in this industry.
As I say,
Mm.
it's quite a thing to foresee, I suppose. So I suppose I don't think you necessarily think, oh, we're going to definitely hit this kind of height, you know?
Mhm.
But I mean, props to you. You've done
Yeah,
an amazing job, obviously, and
of course.
I
Yeah.
mean, the company speaks for itself, right? We've hit the
Yeah.
top.
Not only that, but I think it's really nice because when people discuss cigars online, you see people talking about it on Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Everybody loves the company because they know you. And I think that's a really special and important quality to have
Mm,
because when people relate to someone or they have that connection with someone, it builds a rapport.
mm,
And that is so important for the integrity and the success of the company. I think you've done such an amazing job with that, just building those connections with not just clients, not just suppliers like Hunters and Frankel, but the customers.
mm.
And you don't see a lot of companies or the founders doing that. So I think the fact that you're doing that really says a lot about you as a person and a businessman.
And that work ethic.
I think you might have hit the nail on the head of the essence of Cigars, which is what Laura and I aimed to create as the business started to grow, literally from year one. That we didn't want to lose the personal touch. However big we got, we didn't want to be inaccessible to our
Mm,
clients. So, for example, it's not unusual for me to be answering emails to clients at 2 and 3 in the morning. That's it. The same for I and a management team, Laura, Michelle, Paul, Sarah. We work pretty crazy long hours, and we still do, even though we don't have to. Well, I certainly don't have to. Actually, the team doesn't have to, but we have not lost the personal touch. We still deal with our clients face to face, on email, on Zooms, on WhatsApp video calls. We try and keep it personal. We still like to feel that it's a mom and pop cigar shop, even though it is this sprawling empire across 4 countries now with 27 or 28 shops. I've lost count, and various other businesses involved with the group or as part of the group. So it's not unusual to find me in our cigar lounges around the country most days of the week, just hanging out, herfing, and doing tastings and samplings, and turning up, unexpected to samplings, because I still love the business. I love the people. 99 out of 100 people you meet in the cigar business are generally good people. So you're going to have great company. It's a very sociable business. But yeah, the point is, we didn't want to lose that personal touch. We didn't want to become too corporate. I remember many times when we did redesigns of the website, we'd look at it and we say, you know what, it looks too corporate. It doesn't look like it's actually owned by human beings anymore, run by human beings. We don't want it to look like it's faceless. We wanted to put personalities and people behind the business. I think generally we've been successful. It's been a challenge as we've scaled the business upwards so dramatically over the last 5 years in particular. But we have managed to hold on to that essence of the personal feeling of that mom and pop shop still.
Yeah, 100%. I think that helps, as you say. It's a connection with your customer base, your supplier base. They know exactly who's behind everything that's going on, which is phenomenal.
Makes it more reputable. Yeah. So going back to you as a person, you have obviously in the background you have some hobbies. Visually, we can see that you're into vehicles, cars. So I see a lot of the time on your Instagram, you go to a lot of car shows with your beautiful Aston Martin. Do you have any other hobbies, or is that just the main sort of hobby for you?
My hobby's cigar smoking, guys. That's my life.
Yeah.
I'm herfing, I'm hanging out in our lounges, I'm doing tasting events. That is my hobby. But yes, in my downtime, when I'm not working extremely hard at my cigar hobby, because I am a self-confessed cigar nerd, I am a petrol head. And yeah, my downtime is really spent at car shows through spring, summer, and most of autumn as well, actually. So yeah, every Sunday and sometimes during the week, I go to various concourse shows, and car shows, supercar shows, particularly Aston Martin shows, Ferrari shows, all over the country. With my wife, who's also a bit of a petrol head. So we have a lot of fun because we meet a lot of nice people. We meet a lot of clients of ours, existing C.Gars clients, and we make a lot of new clients at the car shows as well. Because of course I've got the funny C.Gars number plate on the Aston,
Yeah.
so that always is a good topic for conversation. And there's always people coming up to me and saying, "Oh, you're the chap from C.Gars, aren't you?" And yeah, if you can hang out at these cool shows, showgrounds, and have a cigar and have great conversation about cigars and cars. So they're my 2 favorite subjects
Has that always
and
been
my
the
2
case?
favorite hobbies.
Has that always been the case? Have you always gone to like car shows and stuff? You always been into that for like right the way through, or is that like newly founded, or?
No, I've always been absolutely car mad. Literally, I couldn't wait to get my driving license at 17. I got my first sports car when I was, I think, 18, which was an Alfa Romeo Sprint green cloverleaf, 1.5 litre twin carburettor, all
Nice.
color coded in white back in the 80s. And I actually won the Alfa Romeo Owners Club concourse competition for best in class. I've got the certificate hanging on my garage wall, rather faded now. And then I went on a whole journey with all different lovely cars over the years. I went through a succession of Toyota Supras. I went through Rolls-Royce days and Bentley days, and had some fantastic cars until, I don't know, about 12, 13 years ago, when I decided the only car mark that I really wanted to stick with was Aston Martin. And that's what I've done. I've stuck with that. I'm now on my third and probably my last one. That should see out the petrol days in this country, I would have thought.
A very nice looking car, by the way. And the number
Thank
plate
you.
just tops it off. It's really, really
100%.
cool.
I have a
Funny enough,
friend.
there's a good story behind the number plate, because it kind of spells out, C7GAR
Yeah.
cigar. Hunters and Franco have a better one. They've got C1GAR on their van,
Oh,
their delivery van. But it's a funny story because many years ago, when Karen and I got married, I got it. We were staying in my parents' home in Florida, in Miami, and I got an email from a client of ours, from Termos Chester, and he said, "Hi, Mitchell, I've got a number plate on my car, and I think it would be better suited to you than to me." And his name was Gary, and he was in fact a bank manager for a local Barclays bank. So
okay.
he was using it as GAR for Gary, and he said it would look so cool on your car. So he told me the price, and it was a lot of money for me at the time. And I said to Karen, I said, "What do you think? Can we afford it?" And she says, "The thing is, you can't not afford to buy it because you'll always regret not having that
Mhm.
number plate."
Yeah.
So I bought it, and yeah, I've been very happy with it ever since.
I was going to say, if you
It's
passed up that opportunity, I think you'd be kicking yourself now.
100%. I have a friend called Michael Forte who works in the luxury automotive industry. He always goes to these car events and he always sends me a video of your car when he's there saying, "I've just spotted your boss's vehicle. It's absolutely beautiful car." And he does like a little walk around of it and shows me.
That's
It's
so
amazing.
funny. Tell him to come and say hello to me next time.
I did tell him to, but I think he missed you last time, so I'll tell him to
Because you
next
sent
time.
the video in, didn't it? And you was like, "Oh yeah, look, you've seen my Mitchell's
Yeah.
car." I was like, "Oh bloody hell,
Yeah. But
that's
it's,
Very
it's,
awesome."
funny.
it's quite funny, really. Yeah. But
But yeah, I mean, you've got another sort of business venture that you went down with the whole Michelero uh, cigar range, and I mean, it's taken off dramatically. It's an
amazing.
amazing brand,
Yeah.
and obviously we've now got the Peru line as well, which again is just
Wow.
unbelievable
Yeah.
cigar brand as well, especially for the price as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing. But we kind of want to know how did that come around? How did you kind of dive into that and the process behind it?
Well, it was part of our program of having exclusive brands,
Mhm.
to Cigars, and also available to our other cigar merchants throughout the country. We try and have our own exclusive brands, that I've created. We have co-brands with other major and boutique cigar brands,
Mhm.
and we also distribute exclusively certain cigar brands like Arturo Fuente and Aladino and Regius. And with each brand that we take, we're quite select about the brands we take. We're not a collector of brands. We don't want hundreds of brands. We don't want to have everything. We want to have particular brands to fit particular market niches. So it could be we want a Dominican, a Honduran, a Peruvian, a Nicaraguan, one from each region. Then we look at price breaks. So we want a budget, a mid-market, a premium, a super premium. So we're trying to just fit little market niches with all these
Mhm.
brands. The one that was always missing was, of course, the biggest market niche, which was the budget, if you like,
Mhm.
because you can produce very easily cheap, crappy cigars, but I wouldn't put my name to anything cheap and crappy. And what
No.
I wanted to do was make a cigar that was actually very, very good quality and also exceptional value for money. Um, but the problem is that's a bit of an oxymoron. It's almost an impossibility to do. And,
Mhm.
and we've been working on various projects for Michelero for years and years. We, in fact, did make an early version of Michelero with STG years ago, but I'd approved the samples. I'd been over to Cigars International in America, and we'd agreed the blends. And when they finally came through and into production, I thought it was a different blend, and I thought it was actually quite dreadful, and it was quite
Okay.
embarrassing. But funny enough, it did sell through, but we never reordered it because I was so desperately unhappy with the blend. So we shelved the project. We owned obviously the trademark. We shelved the project. We carried on trying to see if there was any way to find the sweet spot between quality and price.
Mhm.
And it was a project that literally went on for years, but we finally nailed it and actually managed to find the right manufacturers, the right quality of all the tobacco leaf, the right packaging,
Mhm.
the right band designs, and we put together the whole thing. It took absolutely ages, because you've got to get the weights right, you've got to get the blends right, you have to scale up and scale down for the sizes, which is not a scientific process. It's not like on a percentage basis. It just doesn't work like that. So there's a ton of testing backwards and forwards for months and months. And the long story short is we finally nailed it, that it is probably the best value budget range that is actually budget in price, but it is very, very decent quality tobacco. It's a very easygoing smoke. We wanted something that was very pleasant from the first puff. To create a Nicaraguan cigar at that price break that doesn't taste bitter on the first puff and even out maybe when you get halfway through it, it is, I would say, almost an impossibility, but obviously it isn't, because we did it. Because if you light up one of those Nicaraguan micheleros, you get no aggression, because it just doesn't exist. There's no bitterness, because I've put so little Ligero and Viso leaf in it that it just comes through as total flavor and not strength, but it does have body, which is exactly how I've designed it. So you're going to get a lot of satisfaction from the full flavor, but you're not going to get any nick kick to knock your palate out on strength. So I think we really nailed that, and in fact, it's our best-selling New World range. So the sales, the customer at the end of the day is the best judge, and that proved that we made it very, very successfully. But we then introduced the Peruvian range, which has taken it to a new height, because Peruvian tobacco, I'm very, very fond of, since we created the Inca Secret Blend ranges of cigars, which are also massively successful for us. And my love for Peruvian tobacco is because it has an incredible sweet taste characteristic. So that cigar, I think, is absolutely phenomenal. And actually, sorry to digress, but going on from there, yesterday I was in C.Gars St. James's sampling lounge, and I sampled a Regius Serie Limitada Robusto, which is also Peruvian. And I haven't smoked one for some months, and I thought it was the most magnificent cigar I'd smoked in absolutely ages. Now, so much so that as soon as I finished it, I had exactly the same cigar again, because I couldn't believe how good it was. And I walked out of there yesterday in the evening, and I thought, wow, we've really created some amazing cigars. I've smoked all the new cigars when they come out, not just mine, everybody's. And some are great, some are good, some are bad, and some are indifferent. But I think across the board, all of the cigars that we've created ultimately have been really, really very, very good cigars. And it's not just my personal opinion. I base that on the sales and the popularity of the brands. But Michelero has been a runaway success story, and we've now opened it up to the industry. A lot of our contemporaries that have taken the brands, and they're doing very, very well with them.
I think it's
Does that answer your question?
Wonderful. Yeah, it certainly does. And I mean, like you said, the customers buying them just speaks for itself. It's just such a wonderful blend.
Blew off the shelves from
I think what's also magnificent about them is they are great for not just someone who's experienced with smoking cigars, but someone who's a novice as well. And I think it has this wonderful balance of flavor, complexity, strength. It's wonderful. It really is. It really does. And like you said, we've got the Nicaraguan line, which is really smooth and chocolatey and not bitter. You've got the Peruvian, which is also a bit more citrusy, I find. Like there's something for everyone, and it's just wonderful. But I'm curious to know, is there anything else in future, or would that be it currently?
No, I'm always working on new cigars, new blends. That's what I do within the business. It's one of my main jobs, if you like, within the group. And recently we introduced two very, very lovely Plasencia cigars, the Orchant selection and the Dominique London selection. They're fabulous cigars. We're very, very happy with them. It's a fabulous collaboration with the wonderful brand of Plasencia, which I absolutely love. And that's also been extremely successful, particularly in my hangout of St. James's, where all the regular guys seem to be smoking them back to back for very long sampling sessions. But I'm always working on new lines. So you're obviously aware of the Alec Bradley Orchant selection cigars.
Yes. Yeah,
So
wonderful
they've
blend.
been very popular, but unfortunately they're up for deletion because STG bought Alec Bradley and they don't want to continue with co-brands or boutique brands that are
That's a shame.
co-branded. So
Yeah.
that when the stocks are finished on those, which will probably be by the end of this year, we will be deleting that line. But we're currently working on a completely new range of cigars called, you'll never believe it, Puffin cigars, because
Oh,
we are puffin rooms
Yeah,
and we're
yeah.
puffin cigars. So we
fits.
own the trademark for many years, but we never got round to actually making it into a cigar. So we're just waiting for the first set of blend samples. I've done the whole, the whole criteria, the whole recipe for how I want the cigar range to be. I can't tell you too much about it at this stage, but it's
No, of
going to
course.
be a mid-market, very accessible, very sweet blend. It will be a Honduran cigar, I can tell you that, because Alec Bradley was essentially a Honduran cigar, so we're replacing that Honduran with the new one. And that will be at a very interesting price point, and I think that will be a very interesting cigar for our regular customers who like Orchant selection cigars, like my blends, which are generally made to be very easygoing, lots of flavor, not too much strength, but the actual flavor profile of this one's going to be a little bit different to anything we've done so far. So watch this space. We're hoping to be able to launch it subject to me approving the blend. I would have thought before Christmas.
That's exciting.
I was going to say I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
We hardly know hardly know anything, but
Yeah.
I like to play on words with the puffin. The
Yeah.
puffin cigars. That's cool. I like that.
Beautiful. Yeah.
But
Wow.
we'll see how that goes.
It
It's really
almost took us
cool.
as long. It almost took us as long to create the puffin logo that we use for puffin rooms as it does to actually create the blend of a cigar. Because if you've ever seen puffins, they're actually not very happy looking birds. They look a
Right.
little bit depressed. And we had about 50 designs from our design company, and we kept saying he still looks a bit depressed. Can you make him look a little bit happier or a little bit less depressed? Anyway, we finally nailed it. So the puffin looks kind of okay. He's a little bit of a serious puffin, but that was quite a process. Of course, Puffin Rooms was a concept created by Ron Morrison, my original business partner. And we had a lot of laughs over the depressed puffin, I can tell you. But anyway, he's a happy puffin these days.
That's
Okay, well,
wonderful.
very exciting project, and I can't wait for that
It
to
really is.
materialize. But
Yeah.
you mentioned Ron then.
Mm.
How did you meet Ron, and how did that come apart? Like that partnership, how did that kind of materialize?
Well, early on in my retail cigar career, we just had the one Termo shop in Liverpool, the original Termo shop on Water Street, and I won the trip to Davidoff back then as one of the, well, I think, as one of the cigar retailers in the UK, and Ron was on that trip as well, probably for Scotland because he had the original Robert Graham store on St Vincent Street. And we met in the airport, at the airport hotel rather, the night before, and we got on like a house on fire. And by the end of that 1 week trip, which was the most amazing Davidoff trip, it was absolutely educational, beyond educational. We had shaken hands and we decided we were going into business together. So that was a long time ago. I think it was about 22 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Might be longer, might be 23 years ago.
Yeah, he's now the president of C.Gars Ltd, isn't he?
Uh, yeah, he's sort of president and really he's the spirits division director. That's his department.
Mm.
That's amazing. It's
He's
kind of
spirits
like
and hospitality.
it's kind of like right place, right time. Then these partnerships seem to come at just. It's kind of like they just fall into your lap.
Yeah.
So the same trip
It's
with Ron,
fate.
and exactly.
Yeah.
It's sliding doors, it's fate. What can I tell you? That's life.
Exciting. And then
Exactly.
you've also got the Stella Do range, which
Yeah.
you and Ron both worked on. How did that come about?
Well, he worked on it, I drank it. So that was a good partnership. It was a good subject for him to use for taste testing. We've been making whiskey as independent bottlers since our Robert Graham days a long time ago. And we had a very successful brand called Dancing Stag. And we also had core range bottlings that we did that were very, very successful. And when we sold the business, Ron retired for a little while, and then I brought him back out of retirement and back into the business of cigars, which was always the much larger business than Robert Graham. And we said we have to create our own whiskey brand again. So we created Stalladu, which means Black Cliff in Gaelic, and we created the core line, the space side, the Isla, and then the cigar malt. I did the original designs for the cigar malt labeling. Then we had it much more professionally designed, changed the look of it completely. And the idea was, to make an alternative to the Dalmore cigar malt, which at the time we liked very much, but there really wasn't much else on the market of any consequence. So we wanted to create something light and bottled at 40% and not too complicated, not over sophisticated, just a good dram to have with a cigar. And I think we absolutely nailed it with that one. That was after much tasting, much sampling, many late nights of investigating different cigar malts or potential cigar malts. And of course, that's very, very successful. I mean, we literally can't bottle that fast enough these days. It's an absolutely massive success for the company. We went back into bottling single casks, and we've won multiple international awards, bronze, silver, gold, loads of gold. I think we've got Highland of the Year as well a few times for various cask releases, and they really are quite stunning, the casks that we release. And I think we do about a cask every month now. We've got quite a cult following. Release 200 to 300 bottles per cask. They usually sell out within about a month. Some of them sell out within a day. I mean, it's an absolutely amazing and it's very boutique. It's a small part of our business, but a very important part of our business.
100%. Yeah. Seems like you've struck gold with that one also.
Exactly, yeah.
We like to do all the go-togethers. There's not, what else can you do with cigars? You can do accessories, of course, but there's not that many new accessories.
No.
What else is a go together? Cognac, well, it's a small space today, cognac, even though it does work very well with cigars, obviously. Wines, well, that's a very crowded market, so we were never going to go seriously into the wine business at all. There's a million people doing it. Whiskey is also a million people doing it, but in terms of creating something very, very high end, very exclusive, very boutique, with somebody who is as well known and experienced in the whiskey business as Ron Morrison, it was just a natural that whiskey and cigars, and that is what has become our business. So yeah, it's worked very well.
How long does it take to sort of come up with the idea of the Stalladu and then in order to release it? How long does that process take?
Look, it's an ongoing process, Lewis. What happens is Ron is very much in the whiskey market. He has incredible contacts within a circle of contacts in the whiskey business, and he's constantly in touch with them, and they know the kind of profile of whiskies that we are interested in acquiring, whiskey casks we're interested in acquiring. So he's constantly buying casks, laying them down, managing them over sometimes years and years. Sometimes we'll lay down casks for 10, 15 years before we'll release them. He might change them from this type of cask to another cask. He might add some water. I don't know. He does all different things with them. It's his department. He's constantly buying. So we've got hundreds of casks that we are constantly have a 10-year program of releasing. That is really it. That's really how it works.
Playing a patient game then, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you get
it is a patient game because he has to draw samples literally every month from different casks and try them and decide, right, that's ready for bottling, that's nowhere near ready, that needs to be changed to another cask, that needs to have this or that. That one's going to be ready by Christmas, and that's going to be a Christmas malt that we're going to release, and then he'll do whatever other details he needs to do to bring the cask to market, the labeling, how many bottles we're going to do, if we're going to make it in a special decanter like the Bruichladdich 21-year-old that we recently released. So it's a whole process, and he's assisted by Paul, who's our corporate director, in that whole process these days. So he's a little department in himself with Paul, or in themselves. And they've got a fun job. They love what they're doing as well. So we are really the kids in the candy store,
Yeah, it takes a specific palate to get to that point, though. I mean, you couldn't chuck any of us in there and go, "Oh, is this one ready?" I'd be like, "I wouldn't have a clue. You know, that specific palate that tells you, okay, this whiskey's ready, this one needs changing, this needs a little bit of this, blah blah blah. It's
Well,
hats off
I
to
think it's a
those.
gift, Billy. I think, I think having a
Mhm,
palate for any of these things, whether it's cognac or whiskey or
mm,
wine or cigars, I think it's quite a gift.
yeah.
I love whiskey, but I won't say that I've got an incredible palate that I could tell you the difference between, a Highland and a Speyside. To
Hmm.
me, they're just a great whiskey. If it's a good dram, it's a good dram. It works with a cigar. It's great.
Of course.
Two schools of thought with what matches up or what pairs up well with a cigar. Ron would say he loves an Isla because he wants the peaty quality to
Hmm.
challenge the flavors of a cigar. I disagree with that. I want to have a marriage of flavors without one drowning out the other. So it's very subjective. It's very personal.
Of course. So with that in mind, do you have a favorite Stalladu that you tend to go back to more so than not?
Well, there's lots that I'd like to go back to, but they don't exist anymore because they've all been drunk. Um, I think recently we've released a Ben Nevis 18 from 1999,
Hmm.
240 bottles. I think that was an absolutely stunning cask. I think
Hmm.
that, well, I love Ben Nevis generally, but I think that's an absolutely stunning one. I don't know if you guys have tried it, but if not, you should have a little dram of that. It's excellent
Maybe
with a cigar.
Yeah.
we'll give it a go later on.
Yeah, I
I don't
reckon
know if
so.
we've got that one here. Have we?
I'm not sure if
Bear in
Uh,
mind its cask strength. I think we bottled that at around 52.8%. So,
mhm.
you have
A little bit
a
stronger.
little sniff and you have a tiny little taste, and then you need to add some water and take it right back
Mhm.
down into the 40s. Otherwise, it's way, way, way too
A bit
strong.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we've talked about your ventures with Michelero, the new Puffin cigar, the Stella Do range. But what's next for you and what's next for Cigars?
Well, very good questions indeed. Next for me is just more of the same, hopefully for many years to come, because this is what I do and this is what I love to do.
Hmm.
This is my life, as I always like to say, I eat, sleep, breathe the cigar business or the cigars business. So no change for me generally. For Cigars as a business, we're still generally acquisitive. For Dominique London, our parent company, as a group, we are generally acquisitive.
Hmm.
I know our team at board level are looking for new opportunities all the time, be it in our existing countries we operate in, which are, as you know, the UK, Belgium, Switzerland, and the Canary Islands.
Hmm.
We're looking at new countries, new territories, new regions. We're looking, and when we find the right opportunities, we will be expanding. We have an interesting long-term expansion plan.
Lovely. I mean, I'm excited to see where it goes.
100%.
Yeah,
It's such an honor to be a part of the process as well.
100%. Yeah.
I feel like I always say this, and I know you do too, but us people that work for Cigars, work for you, we feel valued, like we
Mhm.
feel respected and we feel listened to. Like if I have an idea or anyone has an idea, whether you're part of the packing team or the shop team or the marketing team, you can go to you or Laura and say, look, I have this idea, and you're listened to and heard. And I think that's such a valuable thing and it's such an important thing,
Hmm.
and it makes us feel
It definitely
good.
is something we've said previous as well. We spoke about it earlier about you're quite accessible. You know, not every sort of owner of the company is very accessible to their workers or anything like that. But as you say, if we have anything that we need to run by you, we can email and you will get a response fairly quickly, pretty much 24/7. So, as you say,
Well,
it's a
Billy,
valuable thing.
we've always believed in harnessing the power of youth in Cigars, and
Hmm.
we've believed in giving people a chance. And we employ people on their merit overall, not on purely their academic background.
Hmm.
So, whereas we've got quite a few members of our team who are probably at genius level academically and have honors degrees in business and economics and hospitality and so on. We've also, as you guys know, in your Norfolk office, taken on a lot of apprentices over the years who have done extremely well with us and have built or are building careers with us. I
Hmm.
think at the last count, Cigars in the UK had about 118 members of staff, employees. And if you'd actually do some sort of a statistic or a graph of how long staff have worked for us, we've got so many that are 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. We like to joke that nobody leaves cigars unless they get pregnant or die, or I kill them because they're not working hard enough. And there's probably a lot of truth in that. But I think that's probably quite an accolade in this day and age, to be able to have such a large team. And we probably only change one or two members of staff, and that's usually in the hospitality division. Very rare does anyone leave marketing, IT, sales, retail. It's just very rare. So I'd like to think that the company that Laura and I built many, many years ago really stuck to those same sort of ethics and principles. And we've brought along a great team with us. And I know Laura and I are very proud of you boys and the team in Norfolk and London and our retail team, because without you guys, we could not have built the business, not to this scale. It would be impossible. And of course, there's never a smooth running business. There's always hiccups along the way. But if you don't have HR hiccups, if you don't have a load of problems that you're changing staff every minute, it makes it much easier to cope with the other normal problems that come along every hour of the day running a business of this size.
I was going to say, talking to the apprentices, I mean, we've got 2 apprentices who we started as apprentices, what, 4 years ago, something like that?
Mine's almost 5 years, yeah.
Yeah, and here we are now. Like, as you say, it's props to you guys to make us feel that value and make us kind of want to progress within the company. You know, it's in talking
that sort of hits the nail on the head, because it should be a progression. You know, I'm still learning every day. I'm still studying my subject, which is vintage Havana cigars, every day, reading, studying every day, because you never stop learning. And the idea for our team is that you should grow and develop in your knowledge, in your skill set, in your overall experience, and it should be an ongoing learning process where you're developing. So, which you've been doing very, very well indeed. And so I know we're very proud of you, Laura, particularly. So you're doing very, very well, and we try and nurture and train, which is our ethos of the business. We don't have a blame culture where something goes wrong. It's more no blame, just nurture and train and improve people and develop them. And that's really what we've been trying to do with the team for, well, getting on for 28 years next month. Wow.
It's a long time now.
So it's 28 years coming up. Actually, it's in October. It's not next month. And it's funny because here I am talking to you guys, and I feel like I've only just begun. You know, there's so much more to do. There's so much more fun to have. There's so many more cigars to smoke, people to meet. You know, spread the word of have a cigar, relax, enjoy. It's sociable. It's just one of the great pleasures in life. So I think I've been the facilitator of a lot of people having a lot of pleasure for a lot of years.
Yeah. So on behalf of myself and Billy and the team, just thank you for allowing us to be a part of this incredible journey, and we're really grateful for that.
Yeah, as I say, very exciting times ahead by the sounds of it also. So
yeah,
we look forward to it.
Of course, yeah.
It's always exciting times at C.Gars.
Yeah, exactly.
So Mitchell, do you have any messages to those who are watching?
Any closing?
Well, in closing, I don't know. I'll give you guys a thought. Smoke less and smoke the best. The best doesn't mean the most expensive. No. It's just take your time, smoke and enjoy a cigar slowly. It's not a cigarette. It's not something to be rushed. It's something to just punctuate moments in time, exaggerate your relaxation through a cigar, pair it up with something nice, whether that's nice people, nice surroundings, or a nice drink. It's one of the last few completely handmade products made with a lot of love, a lot of care, a lot of attention, a lot of hard work. And I think people should just smoke the best that they can possibly have. And it's not a matter of trying to be like me, smoke a lot of cigars. It could be one cigar a week or one cigar a day. Just find that cigar that's going to make you feel absolutely fantastic. It's going to tantalize your taste buds. It's going to punctuate that experience and just give you a lovely hour of total relaxation, because it's a de-stressor. Stress is a big killer. And if you can de-stress for an hour in your day or in your week, it's going to do you a lot more good than a little bit of tobacco could do any harm to you.
100%. Put the nail on the head there. 100%. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Of course, yeah.
It kind of generalizes the whole cigar community as a whole as well. Like, perfect. But Yeah.
Awesome. Well, shall we take it back to the cigars and
Yep,
talk about our thoughts?
we
So
can do. I mean,
you-
mine's just gone out because of
that's
the
fine. Well,
the
I'll
chat,
start.
but
So with the Oliva Aliados, I have to say this is such a super smooth cigar. No aggression. It's quite earthy, nutty. It's beautiful. It really is beautiful. I've had no issues with it whatsoever. So I'm gonna start this one off and say this one's for me.
yeah, I would agree. I'm going to say the CAO Pilon Robusto has been a phenomenal experience so far. I mean, the experience makes it 10 times better, of course, but I was expecting a lot more strength.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's quite easy going, especially for this time of the day as well. I was expecting to get a little bit more of that nicotine kick, but
Yeah.
I mean, my nicotine tolerance is yet to be tested. So, but yeah, no, very, very good, very easy going, quite smooth. A bit of sweetness here and there, but
Mhm.
quite a woody profile.
Yeah. And what about yourself, Mitchell? How's the Siglo 6?
I can imagine it's
Magical.
perfect as always.
Absolutely magical. Delicious. Absolutely perfect. Just sweet tobacco all the way through. Complex, easy draw, beautiful wrapper.
Mhm.
Absolutely first class. But what would you expect? It's a Cohiba.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose we can
Of course.
round
Yeah.
it up. Thank you very much, Mitchell, for coming on.
Of
It's been an
course.
absolute pleasure, as always. But
Yes.
My pleasure, boys, and back to work.
thank you.
Of course.
We
Yeah.
will be.
All right. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for watching and listening to the podcast today. We hope you enjoyed. Please leave your feedback and questions down below. And until next time, stay safe and happy herfing. Peace.